Good morning on this bright, cheerful December 8th.
Yes, that's right.
The month's almost half gone. We've been in chapter 7, and we're going to start with verse 15.
Okay.
And this is the part where the angel that's standing by, or some kind of being, to give Daniel the interpretation.
Okay.
Now, we tried to interpret things before we got here. They may be right, they may not be right. We don't know. But
And then we have to interpret the interpretation.
That's right. And then now we're going to go and we're going to try and interpret what the angel says. And the primary focus is to understand where we are. That's what they wanted Daniel to know, what this was all about in the world. To the end, it said. So
Daniel's the one who could tell the dreams and the interpretation of the dreams and so forth. And now he's being shown this. It's interesting.
And as a little bit of a review, the world is all, in a sense, under these four beasts.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one kingdom. Those represent four kingdoms. There's one kingdom that's different. It's not a beast.
Mm-hmm.
It's a man kingdom.
Okay.
They don't have, we'll see, they don't have a particular land.
Okay.
And they don't have an edifice on earth that you can look at and say, oh, that's the cloud person.
Mm. Okay.
But it's the cloud, and the Jews that teach about this stuff would say the other are the roof.
Okay.
The roof people and the cloud people.
Roof or root?
Roof.
Roof.
R-O-O-F.
Okay.
These are the people that don't want to live under God. They want to live under a solid roof. They feel more protected with the stuff that they can produce and make. They can feel more sure of their vaccines and the natural immunity that God makes our body produce. I shouldn't give jibes like that, but I see all of this stuff falling under either the roof people or the cloud people.
That's good.
Now, what the cloud people do, it's illustrated on Sukkot.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Feast of Booths.
Mm-hmm.
They have to make a hut to live in that you can see through the roof so that they are aware of the clouds above the roof.
Mm.
And you could hardly call it a roof because rain could come through.
Yeah, we know that.
So they're depending on the clouds of heaven. Mm-hmm. It represents God and his people. Remember, we talked about how the cloud represented God's people with him, the glory of God.
Mm-hmm.
And so the cloud people are looking higher than a roof. And that's how we can look at it in a physical.
They're looking through the roof to the clouds.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll start here with verse 15. My spirit, I, Daniel, suffered within its vessel, my body. See, we've been given a vessel to operate out of. And the visions in my head troubled me. I approached one of the attendants. There was more than one that we saw when we saw the Ancient of Days sitting on his cloud, seeking the truth from him about all of this. And he spoke to me and made the meaning of the things known to me. Okay, that's one thing we know. Daniel understood. We don't understand, but Daniel did. These enormous beasts, of which there were four kingdoms, will arise from the earth. Okay, we got that with the big statue that Nebuchadnezzar saw. The head, the arms and shoulders, the major part of the body, and then the hips and the legs, upper part of the legs, and then the lower part of the legs was in addition to them. But the four were Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome.
Okay.
That's the only four that God looks at as existing. Everything else is attached or a part of or comes from that. So then he said, okay, we got the four kings will rise from the earth. Verse 18, holy ones of Most High will receive the kingdom and will inherit the kingdom forever and ever. Okay, that's the fifth kingdom or dominion, and that's the cloud people.
Okay. Yeah.
Then I wish to be certain about the fourth beast, which was different from all of them, exceedingly fearsome, with teeth of iron and claws of bronze. Now, one of the beasts had bronze claws. But otherwise, you don't see much about metal in the others. But this one is made with metal. Fearsome with teeth of iron and claws of bronze. It devoured and crushed and then trampled what remained with its feet. Now the feet would be the last part of this kingdom as far as time is concerned. So he's trampling whatever he could devour before, and if there's anything left, he'll do it with his feet. The feet with 10 toes. And I wish to be certain about the 10 horns that were on its head. And the other one that sprouted with 3 falling before it. That had horn that had eyes in it and a mouth speaking boastful things, and whose appearance was more powerful than the others. I kept looking, and that horn was waging war against the holy ones, and prevailing over them until the Ancient of Days arrived, and judgment was passed in favor of the holy ones of the Most High.
It's interesting until the Ancient of Days arrives.
Yes, we're going to talk about that too. This horn appears after the other 10 kings, and we'll find out. And then he talks about the holy ones of the Most High. So now we're down to this day where we have one horn that speaks boastfully, and the people of the cloud. Those two entities. The people of the cloud do not have a particular kingdom that they're living in. So that means they are scattered throughout the earth. Finishing up verse 22. And the time arrived, and the holy ones took possession of the kingdom. Okay, there's a certain time God has for when his kingdom comes and he gives it to the holy ones. This is what he said. The fourth beast means there will be a fourth kingdom in the land that will be different from all the kingdoms. Now, up to the time of Daniel, he knew about Babylon. He came out of that one. This is the first year of Darius. And he knew about the Persians and the Medes. he would be aware of Greece because Greece was already existing.
Oh, okay. At that time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were known.
Hmm.
But he wouldn't know about Rome. Rome had not appeared yet.
Yeah, that came after.
It may have been a little city-state at the time of Greece, but it didn't really come up on the stage. So, he says, this different one would devour the whole earth and crush it and trample it. Verse 24. And the 10 horns mean that from that kingdom, 10 kings will arise. Okay, now this is some people think this is a consecutive 10 kings after Rome. We said 10 kings will arise. Yeah. And some people say it's 10 kings consecutively, and then you get the horn, the boastful horn. And some people think the boastful horn and the 10 kings are at the same time. However, I've never been sure of this, but it says this horn arises after them. That still is not extremely clear, because it could just mean that they're still existing, and this one comes up after they had been existing. Which tells me the one horn, I think, would represent what the Christians call the Antichrist.
Oh, okay.
However, that term is not a term used in the Tanakh.
No.
It's better to...
Well, Christ is a Greek word anyway.
Yeah, right. Anti-Messiah. But really, in the Tanakh, it's presented as this group that are against God and His will, and the group that follows God. It's as simple as that. So I would say that if there are 10 kings on the earth now involved with this one horn, that they are representative of all the people that are against God.
Yeah, okay. Which
and
is the what do you call it? The cover of people?
Yeah, the 10 and the horn are the roof people.
Roof people, that's it.
Gog means roof. So quit trying to find which nations are Gog. Anybody that's against God is part of Gog. That's the word for roof in Hebrew.
Wow.
It's not unusual that God chooses the words He does.
Yeah.
To name things, okay. Then it says, He will bring down the downfall of 3 kings. So some people think this is 3 of the 10 kings, but it doesn't say that. We don't know that it's that. You're guessing, you're interpreting.
Right.
So I'm going to interpret it a little different.
Yeah, if they can do it, you can do it.
The reason why I interpret it this way is, in a later chapter, it talks about, and maybe it's in this one, I don't know, that there are 3 kingdoms that get to continue on, not as kingdoms, but as an influence. Okay? So this is what I say. The 3 kings, or 3 kingdoms, Babylon, Persians and Medes, and the Greek. Now, I see what is going on now. Those 3 kingdoms have influenced our culture.
Oh, yeah.
Here in the West especially. we have people now of the roof that are totally against any of that.
Mm.
They're fighting against these three kingdoms that introduced cultural things into our lives. The Greeks was knowledge. Persian and Persian they were very good with their hands, with metalworks and stuff like that. Babylon was sort of like I don't know what they're mostly about, leadership, I would say.
Okay.
But Greek had probably the most influence until you get to the Roman period, but the Roman period is not cast down. So they're actually using the Roman form of law, that is how you set up your judicial system.
Right.
That's still being used, and they're using it against the people of the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go on because it gives a little more influence here. Oh, well, just a minute. This one horn, and if there are 10 at this time, I would say when, I hate to almost say it, we had a president that started the League of Nations.
Mm-hmm.
The League of Nations was 10 nations,
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
and that morphed into
The UN.
the UN. The UN is headed by one president that's voted on. Periodically, he gets changed. But he represents what the UN does in the world.
That's right.
And what he says is the voice of what the UN is saying. Now, they'll say one thing, but they're doing another. They take Israel to task more than any other nation. Israel is on the earth as a point of reference for the cloud people because Israel is the one that has introduced the idea of the cloud people, okay? I'm not saying they're the only ones that are the cloud people, because at this time, there is no nation that is what God wants on the earth for his kingdom. There's none. There's all kinds of elements of evil in every nation. Unfortunately, elements of the roof are in each nation.
Even here, it's not only the Jews here, but they've had a lot of problems now with Arabs having guns and fighting each other and all kinds.
Well, and then we still have people that came out of Russia that were anti-God.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They don't believe there is, and at least they don't believe there is a God.
Yeah.
And they've come here. They want to do good things, but they don't.
Well, they want a safe place to live. They want freedom.
Yes, and some of them weren't Jews either. They were just attached to Jews.
Yeah.
And so that influences here, and it's influenced the government and their decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a very secular government. It's not a God government. But this nation may have more influence from the cloud people than maybe some nations. I don't know.
Yeah.
So he will bring about the downfall of the three kings. That doesn't sound too good, Frank.
No.
That means the moral issues that we have seen in America
Mm-hmm.
and in a lot of the European and countries that were related to Europe, like Australia and New Zealand, etc. To bring their downfall is to change the way they think.
Mm-hmm.
If we thought something was good, they're saying it's bad. If we thought something was bad, they're saying that's good. And we know that by what they're doing, because they are opening the prisons and letting out prisoners that should be in there. And they're going to houses of people that are just law-abiding citizens and putting them in jail because they don't have a mask on, or they haven't got the shot, or I mean, some of the stuff that they're throwing, it's just unheard of. But I mean, we're just puzzled over it. So when he says here, they will be handed over to him for a time and times and a half a time. Oh, there was a verse that said they seek to change the times. Where was that? Oh, yes.
Which verse?
Verse 25. This horn, he will speak words against the Most High. He will afflict the holy ones of the Most High and plan to change the times and the law. Now, we see that in, I don't agree with Christmas. It's talked about in Jeremiah, I think it's Jeremiah 11, how we bring out the heathen would go get a tree and bring it into their house and decorate it and worship it. I was so surprised when Tovia Singer said that was actually going on at this time that Daniel lived.
Yeah. Wow.
The nations have been doing this Christmas tree thing for years because it represents the change of the solstice. They would pin a star up on top. I think they might have even said that in Jeremiah.
I think so.
And so that's an old custom. But they're trying to get rid of that, even. They're trying to get rid of any religion because there's no God. We're it. So they're trying to change that. And, of course, Hanukkah and anything else that is religious. So they're trying to change the times and the law. And the law is the lawless get to be the ones that are free, and the lawmakers and law-abiding are the ones that go into jail.
Did all your kids, how many people help with that?
How many what?
Help with that.
Help with it?
Yeah.
You mean which nations?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like all of them are falling in line.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, some of the things that have happened in Australia, I'm just appalled at.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just appalled. So, it says here, they, the holy ones, will be handed over to him for a time and a times and a half a time. Now, we've had this horn for a while. We don't know when the 3.5 years starts.
Yeah.
Did it start when Biden got into office? I mean, America was leading the world.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then maybe we only have to endure 3.5 years of this. I don't know. But there is a 3.5 year period. But what happens after the end of the 3 years, 3.5 years? And a court will sit in judgment. It doesn't say who the court is. A court, or the court. And the court, which court? The court of heaven or the court on earth? And do away with his dominion, devastating and destroying it to finality. Okay, the only way we can know the answer to that question, Frank.
This is verse 26?
That was in verse 26, yes. Is to go back and see what happened in the dream.
Okay.
Up in verse 8, it says, another small horn sprouted in their midst, and 3 of the earlier horns were uprooted in front of it. Because it says earlier, that's why I go back to Babylon, Persian Medes, Greece. Um,
Can I read 26 here?
yes, go ahead.
But judgment will be set, and they will take away his dominion to be annihilated.
Yep.
Annihilated, and to be destroyed completely. It just says judgment, doesn't say who that is. Well, usually when you think of judgment, you think of God judging something.
Well, that's why I'm going back to the verse 8.
Okay.
Because look what happened. This horn uprooted the three, and behold, this horn had all right, then we get a description. I kept watching as thrones were set up and the Ancient of Days sat. Okay. So that's the court. See that in verse 9?
Let's see, we'll go back to verse 9.
Yeah, you better go back there, Frank. Then it describes the Ancient of Days.
Out of one of these came forth one little horn, which grew exceedingly southward and eastward toward the coveted land. Is that the one?
I don't know where you are.
Verse 9. Oh, I looked at chapter 8. Sorry.
Yeah, let's not go there. Next week, Frank. Oh, well, we've already
I
gone.
wonder where I was. Oh dear.
Anyway.
I watched as the horns were set up. Yeah, and the one of ancient days set. Okay.
And his throne was sparks of fire, its wheel flaming fire.
Mm-hmm.
A river of fire was streaming and flowing forth before him.
Yeah.
Thousands were ministering to him. And let's go down to verse 11. During the sound of the boastful words that the horn was speaking, I kept watching. The beast was slain, and its body destroyed and given over to the burning fire.
Mm.
So that tells us the court is God's court.
Yeah.
And he's doing away with this dominion that has taken over his world.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to lose his world.
Right.
And the kingship and the... I have a page to turn here. Do you have it, Frank? And the dominion and the grandeur of the kingdoms underneath all the heavens, under the cloud, will be given to the nation of the holy ones of the Most High. Their kingdom is an eternal kingdom.
Wow.
And all rulers will serve and obey it.
Oh, wow.
Now, it says rulers will serve.
Yeah.
So there's people that survive the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Here the account concluded. I, Daniel, was very alarmed by my thoughts and my face blanched, but I kept the matter to myself. Next week we will start in 8.
Okay.
But
what?
I think that's the best I can cover that section.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry I've gone a little longer than we usually do.
That's all right. Yeah.
So read over it yourself and let God's Spirit speak to you.
Yeah.
Okay, goodbye, and we'll see you next week.